This video is brought to you by my latest book, How to Play Melodic Rock Lead Guitar, a comprehensive guide to doing exactly that, playing melodic rock lead guitar. This is not just some collection of scale patterns and tabs, although you do get plenty of those, but you also get an entire chapter on how to come up with your own licks, as well as video content, tutorials and demonstrations, loads of jam tracks, and all the way through I'm encouraging you to expand your fretboard knowledge and showing you how you can think in a more musical and melodic way. Check out the link in the description for more details. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. In our world, or community if you want to call it that, of electric guitar enthusiasts, there are certain boutique builders whose names are pretty much household names. Someone like John Sir, for example, or, well, how about Paul Reed Smith? There you go. Or maybe, although he doesn't make guitars, or he didn't make guitars, it was amplifiers, a certain Mr. Dumble springs to mind. Well, I think there's another name that we need to add to any kind of list like that, and it's this fella here, Jim Cairns. Yeah, I'd wager you've never heard of him, but, well, that's why I'm doing this video, because I think he deserves a bit more recognition. I first got to know Jim in 1987 because he's from this area. I first got to know him in 1987 when I took, I think it was a Washburn Strat copy that I had at the time, to this establishment here. It's a place in Stockton, long since gone, called Bandland, and it was just one of those old school music shops where you would go to kind of hang out as much as buy anything. Maybe go down there and spend a couple of hours just chatting and possibly buy a plectrum or a set of strings or something. Great place to hang out, and it was like it was a bit like a musician's social club. Yeah, I took a guitar in there to get it set up, and Jim was the guy who was doing all of the setups there, and he made a really fantastic job of it. Just kind of pretty much, you know, when you get a guitar that is really nasty to play and then it gets a good setup and suddenly it's transformed it. That was what I think is probably my first experience of having that sort of transformative effect of a good setup. So I took all my guitars to Jim from that moment on. He had a little workshop in Redcar, where I live here, place called Warrenby, and I believe that little industrial unit there was where he used to work out of. I sort of retraced my steps to it on Google Maps earlier, or Google Earth, and yeah, I think that's pretty much the place. I'd ring Jim up and I'd say, Jim, I've got some fretboards, got a gig tomorrow night, can you help? And he'd sort it out for me, whether it was, just a general setup or a rewire or a refret, level and crown, anything like that. It always came back absolutely spectacularly well done. But Jim didn't just do setups, he also used to make guitars. Let's have a look at a few now. There's a lovely group shot, and there's one of those guitars we're going to be discussing in a bit more detail shortly. Let's have a look at some more. That's a nice little display there. And some more. There's, it wasn't just electrics, as you could see, he made acoustic guitars as well. And what about this one? There we go. That's probably one of the designs he's best known for. Yes, he also came up with a rather revolutionary design of a tremolo that he used to fit to his guitars. Like how a twin post tremolo has two knife edges. Well, this trem that Jim invented back in the 80s, I think it was, had like a single knife edge running along the whole width of the bridge. So there's the knife edge there, and it fits into a kind of slot like that that's screwed to the body of the guitar, and that's where you get your trem action from. Such an obvious design that you wonder why no one else ever thought of it, but perhaps they did. Have you seen the Vega trem? I mean, Jim could have easily slapped a patent on that and, kind of got some OEM manufacturer somewhere to churn them out by the container load and retired on a pile of cash. But, it's not what Jim, that just wasn't Jim. He was just tinkering away in his workshop, came up with a solution to a problem and just, well, that works. Yeah, I'm just going to go with that. So he was a great guy. As I say, he used to live in Redcar, and quite often I'd be just running some errand, going to the bank or the supermarket or whatever in the town centre, and I'd bump into him and we'd stop and have a chat. And he was such a nice, down to earth guy. When you kind of when you meet those people who are really gifted at something, but they don't kind of know how good they are at it. It's just because it's just what they do. He was one of those guys. Always got time for a chat. Would always accommodate you and would just make fantastic guitars and do great setups. Jim passed away from cancer in 2011, and it was a big shock to the whole of the Teesside, Redcar, Middlesbrough, guitar community. It was, suddenly he was the guy that you went to. He was just the fella who did all your work on your guitars. And it wasn't until I read his obituary in the local evening paper, the Evening Gazette, that I realised just what a colossus he was, because he wasn't the type of guy to shout about it himself, So I'm just going to read a little bit of an extract from his obituary. It goes, his guitars were played by the likes of Chris Rea, the Shadows and the Eagles. But whether it was for a superstar or a keen amateur, Jim Cairns always put his heart and soul into creating the best guitars he could. For most of his life, making guitars was Jim's passion. He got his career off to a bang in the 1970s, producing spectacular-looking guitars based on the Colt 45 gun. Yeah, we saw that earlier. From the factory he ran with Brian Goodall in Cumberland Road, Middlesbrough. Two of those early creations are believed to still exist. One is in the American Vintage Guitar Museum, and the other belongs to Joe Walsh of the Eagles. Jim was also the guitar technician for Middlesbrough's own Chris Rea during his Just Passing Through 1986 tour. Jim of Redcar was described by the late Jet Harris of the Shadows as a great guy who made a superb guitar. And I'll also just add to that when the Burns guitar brand was relaunched in 1992, Jim built the prototypes in that Warren Beat workshop. Let's just have another look at it there. Jim built the prototypes, including the one that was reviewed by, I think, Neville Martin in Guitar Magazine back in, as I say, 1992. I've been thinking for a while I should do a video about Jim, and and this is me just getting it out of my system. He was an absolute genius, fantastic fella. I wouldn't say he was a close friend of mine because, I knew him and we were friendly, but, it wasn't like we were kind of best buddies or anything, but it was still, for somebody that I knew from, as I say, 1987 and got to know pretty well, up until 2011, when sadly he was taken from us age 65. It was just one of those things that, when like a famous rock star dies and you think, oh, they are mortal after all. It was one of those kind of things when we realised that this person, this guy who we thought was just a permanent fixture of the scene, was suddenly no longer with us. And as I say, I only found out just what a reputation he had. I mean, Joe Walsh owns one of your guitars, and someone like Chris Rea is getting you to be to go on the road as the guitar tech. Then that's somebody who knows their stuff, isn't it? So yeah, and that's it really. Jim Cairns, I think. Let's have another look at him. I think he needs to be much more recognised than he is. And if this little video that I'm putting out now can encourage people to maybe go and have a look on Reverb or eBay to see if they can find a used Cairns guitar, or maybe just go and shout, kind of bang the drum for him a little bit more, then I think I've done my bit. But that's the video for today, folks. Hope you've enjoyed it, and if that's the case, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. Why not drop me a like as well while you're at it? Don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. We have a beer and a chat because it's Friday, basically. It is a fantastic way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.